So I finally got around to watching Sentenced to Be a Hero. There's been a lot of talk about it on X, like from chibi reviews, from it seems like everybody who's tapped into the anime scene is kind of talking about this, and there's comparisons to Mushoku Tensei and like a lot of other good anime. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna get into it, and I was very pleasantly surprised to see that the first episode's actually, I think it was 58 minutes long. I think that's awesome. I love kind of the long form videos like that. It's probably just for the first episode, kind of establishing the story, establishing the world. But I do wish that some anime would, and I understand that there's production issues and everything, but it'd be kind of cool to be able to get like a true 30 minutes or 35-minute episodes. Because most anime, I feel like it's really 18 to 21 minutes of like, when you cut out the openings, when you cut out the credits, like it's kind of down to that. So first impression was really good. I thought it was fantastic. I thought the art style was really good. It reminded me of Mushoku Tensei. It also reminded me of it was an old iOS and Android game that I think it did get an anime that wasn't very good, but Chain Chronicle kind of has that same almost watercolor color palette. So I really enjoyed the art style. I thought that the character designs were really good. Like they didn't feel out of place. There's always those jokes or memes about, there'll be like the main characters in Yu-Gi-Oh! And they're like in a crowd. And it's like, can you guess which characters are the main characters? And it's like, yeah, it's the one who, has like the big hair, lots of color. And then everybody else is just like, the background characters are all like the copy pasty, right? So I thought that the character designs did a really good job of being unique, but also standing out enough. So for example, the Holy Knights, so they're fodder, they're just absolute fodder, but they have a very set look about them. And then when we meet I think he was a lieutenant, he had his helmet off, so we're like, okay, like that's the character that's going to be interacting with our protagonists, that's fine. And then when they get to the river, they meet Captain Kivia, who she looks very in place, but just, first off, she's the only one on a horse. That kind of made her stand out. But also, just her character design, I thought was it just accentuated that perfect balance of feeling part of the world, feeling realistic and not like out of place, right? I thought overall the pacing was very good. It didn't really feel like it dragged in any places. The combat felt really real as well. When the main characters are fighting or when they're doing like an action, like the action shot kind of deal, you could really feel the weight. I felt like you could just feel the blows, or when they're dragging their sword through one of the monsters. They did a really, really good job animating that and just having that sense of realism and weight behind the blows. With the background characters, with like the fodder, it's a little bit different. Like it's, and that's how it should be, right? You can't animate everything that way. Where they're just kind of getting flipped around, and that's lighter, but it's not the focus. It really, really just keeps you primed for like that next really beautifully animated shot. So I thought the combat was great. I thought that the plot and the world building felt very organic. Where there's the cliche is the exposition of like, oh, here we go, we're going to do an expositional dump to get everybody caught up, or we're going to have a narrator narrate everything that's like pertinent to the story. And they didn't do that. It felt like they were just, it felt like it came up naturally, like in conversation, mostly between Dota and Xylo, where it seems like Dota is very new. he's like a new hero. It hasn't been doing this nearly as long as Xylo. So it'll be kind of like, no, dumbass, we're not going to do that because then we have to go through this, this, and this. And you go, oh, okay, well, now we know that there's, a resurrection system. You can lose your memories. It felt natural. It didn't feel super, like in your face. Like, okay, readers, okay, viewers, everybody write this down because you need to know this. It didn't come across that way. It felt very organic. The way that it was shot, I really enjoyed. They had some pretty cool cinematic elements, particularly with, I think it was twice, maybe it was 3 times, where they flip to a point of view shot of Xylo, where I think it was when Dota is hiding. He's almost getting munched on, like in the very beginning, and he calls out for Xylo, and then it's him just speeding through the trees, and then saving him in the nick of time. And then we get that again on the battlefield at the river, and it's a cool break from the standard way that they're kind of shooting what's going on. And I also liked, it's interesting going back. So the first fight, which was kind of that little minor ambush that just, kind of set the tone for the rest of the, like, okay, this is how combat's going to work. These are the enemies, all that. But the first fight, it felt like it was framed tightly, where, you're kind of zoomed in a little bit too far, and it makes you uncomfortable. And it's because, you're getting thrown into this. This was like, Dota is like in over his head. He's running for it. But then as they do 2 things, they steadily graduate from that small ambush. Then they go and they save the remnants of that company. So there's like that medium-sized fight where there's like the lieutenant and, a handful of the Holy Knights who survived. And then they graduate to the big battle at the river. So the scale increases, and also the way that they shoot the action changes as well. Obviously they're still going to come in for action shots and close-ups and things like that, but it was cool to see that graduation of like 1, 2, 3 in like orders of magnitude. And man, especially in the last battle, the battle at the river, they did such a good job at creating a sense of scale, both for the like more advanced or the larger monsters, the fairies that we get introduced to. Like there's trolls, there's the wolves, there might have been another one, but like the scale of the demon lord, it's so, first off, such a good design, so freaky. Like every time it was on screen, I was kind of like, oh god, so I thought overall the fairy designs, they were really good, and creating that sense of scale as well, I thought was really well done. I like that they immediately threw us into the action, like before they even do like the credit drop or the title drop, because it starts fast, and they do a really good job. So like within the first 7 minutes, they already established the distinct main characters between Dota and Xylo, where Dota is the nervy, impulsive, he can, kind of change his demeanor, change his mood, like a coin flip, like a weather vane. And then Xylo comes across as that kind of veteran, determined, taciturn, he's a realist. And they establish very quickly it's a gritty, violent world. Very organically, they hint at the resurrection system behind the heroes, and they make it clear that heroes are different and have, certain properties that the other people, which we really only see Holy Knights, that they don't have. So like the resurrection system was one of those, but it sounds like if you use that, it's, first of all, it's an ordeal. They mentioned something about like, oh, you have to go get their soul from hell, drag it back, and it's a pain in the butt. And it can also cost you your memories. Not all of them, but it sounds like it's a gradual, it kind of reminded me of like Log Horizon, where they realized that, oh, as you accumulate deaths, you begin to lose memories of your previous life, like in the real world. And Xylo, mentions a couple times there, he's kind of laying the groundwork for the minor reveal. He says, no, we're stuck doing this. We don't have a choice. We'll get punished if we don't do this. And after they save the lieutenant, he basically calls him out for being, you're a penal hero. So obviously penal colonies, prisoners. So they are essentially prisoners who are serving the common good, right? They answer to the government, and because they did atrocious things and death was too good for them, and so now they have to like repay their debt, or they just do this until they're gone. Like we're really not sure yet. So in that battle as well, because earlier, Xylo basically just kills the one. Dota is just like escaping, he's just running. But in the first like real battle that they're in, it's cool because it kind of it brings out their synergy, where Dota is like kind of the scout. He provides oversight. He'll do like support from behind they have these ranged magical staves, and then Xylo's like the upfront fighter. So whether that's him throwing his daggers or swords or using them, he's kind of the front line melee direct combat. And they reveal the power system, I guess, or it's not really the power system, but it seems to be part of it, which is the seals. So there's magical seals, and it seems like you can have them both on organic, like animate animals, people, whatever, but you can also put it on inanimate objects. So for example, the scorched earth seal, we only see used on those bombs, right? And Xylo has he showcases a bunch of different abilities. So both of them and their companion, who is, I guess, like relaying information from like a command tent. I don't remember his name, but they have seals on their throat that allow them to communicate from a distance. And then we see Xylo combine heat and light seals in his hands and potentially like on his back, to charge his knives with energy so that when he throws them, they explode. And the animation behind that it's great. I do feel like it came off a little bit spammy, especially because we don't really know what the downsides are yet for using seals or using too many seals, or we don't really know how it works yet. So later on, we also see Xylo use seals for flight, speed, jump. I mentioned the scorched earth, and I'm sure that we're going to see a ton more as the series progresses. And oh, you know what? Actually, after the credits, when they do the scene, the flashback of him being convicted, which is a total railroad job, but after the credits, they do hint that having too many seals can destabilize your psyche. So maybe that's like the downside, but it doesn't seem to matter once they're the penal hero. I'm sure we're going to get more development on that as well. So the balancing in this, the magic staves and the ballista are really, really powerful, but it seems like the ammo is pretty scarce, or it's very limited. So, in the river battle, they basically, shoot their shot, they blow their load on the Demon Lord with their ballistae, and then they're out, like they're screwed. And humans, again, like then it's like, okay, now we gotta go fight hand to hand. And it's like, dude, the human beings are such fodder. Like, it's brutal, because they'll have dismemberment, decapitation, even when the monsters or the fairies are blown up, like there's chunks, there's like it's very visceral without being like over the top. It's not like vulgar, if that makes sense. And then the third character that we kind of get introduced to, she really became like the second main character, where it's clearly a story that's going to be about her and Xylo, even though you initially have the impression that it's going to be Dota and Xylo. But Tiorita, so they find her, technically Dota steals her coffin and accidentally awaken her. She is the 13th goddess. We're not super clear yet on if there is a set number of goddesses and you have to go find them. We don't know. I think they mentioned that they were like created or manufactured, so we don't know how many there are. I mean, we know that at least 13, and then there could be many more. She might be the last one. We don't really know, but she was really fun. So I thought her voice actor was phenomenal, and the way that she made switches between the bubbly with kind of more of the formal, more formal declarative voice versus like her just being cute and like demanding head pats. I thought the voice actor, she did a phenomenal job. It kind of reminded me of Aqua from, holy crap, oh my gosh, Konosuba. Oh my gosh, Konosuba. If Aqua actually had like above room temperature IQ. So, and it's not a knock on Aqua, like she's great, but Tiorita like balances kind of that goofiness, bubbliness with the seriousness. But she is not, she's not comedic relief. She's not an idiot, which, that's part of Aqua's charm. And then, they kind of build it up, blah, blah, blah. And then Xylo has to create a pact with Tiorita in order to save themselves and the rest of the surviving Holy Knights. And man, the power reveal was really, really sweet. Like, it was epic. Like, it reminded me of Gilgamesh from Fate Stay Night. Or just Fate, the Fate series, Gilgamesh. Obviously Gilgamesh toned down a little bit, I won't say it was like that level when he goes all out, but it was really cool. The way that they use light and color, I thought it was really, really well done. Yeah, and they hinted heavily through the episode that Xylo had a past with goddesses. I mean, hinted, but then they also kind of said that too, where he said, I'm never going to trust another goddess again. And right before they formed the pact, like the battle PTSD that he was experiencing, it felt so real. And that his voice actor did, for the sub, I did the subtitled, it was phenomenal performance. And then looking back, there's actually because we get the reveal and it makes so much sense, because when you go back and look, he's so protective of Tiorita, even from the beginning, where he jumps in front of her to like get between her and fairies. He's constantly saying, why are you here? Go back, go hide. Don't use your powers. Even, after they make the pact, he's like, don't use your powers. I'll take care of it. I'll take care of it. And we learn why that is in the flashback to his sentencing, where it's very clear that he got railroaded by the church, and he had made a pact with, I think her name was Seneca. I wrote it down somewhere. Senerva. And so he had made a pact with a goddess previously, and he ended up having to kill her because she used too much power, and so she was beginning to get corrupted by the blight. So it retroactively, it's like, oh yeah, when you rewatch it, you'll notice how many times he was like trying to protect her and keep her out of harm's way. And speaking of the blight, I thought that was really, really well done. Where the animals like the frogs, the trolls, the wolves, they're clear. Those creepy like cockroach things too. Like, they're so clearly affected by this weird, demonic fungus kind of thing. And the demon lord, who again, that was just like the freakiest design, like character design. But the way that like he travels and like spreads the blight with him. I thought that was really, really cool. So they kind of hint at, in the sentencing, in the flashback, they hint that the goddesses, so, you know, he's getting railroaded, but he says, oh no, she was going to turn, she was going to become corrupted. And they're like, that's impossible, that's never going to happen, you know, get this guy out of here, shut him up. And then he's like, there's no greater power or more terrible power in this world than if a goddess were to become corrupted. So, you know, I feel like they gave us a lot of things to kind of expect development toward, you know, the idea of the seals, the relationship between the characters, obviously, and then also just things like that where you're like, oh, okay, let's see where this goes. Well, before I even name any cons, there's only a couple. I'll just lead with, I think this was like a solid 9 out of 10. So I think 10, if you give something a 10 out of 10, like it has to be generational. It has to be like perfect. And this was close. Maybe it's a 9.5, honestly. Because even the background music was good. It was shot really well. Yeah, I'd give it somewhere in there, right? A 9 to a 9.5. The cons, and this is super, super minor, but the predictability of, for example, Xylo forming a pact with Tiarita and him having previous experience with the goddess. It's like there were a lot of flags for both of those. So when it comes out that, yes, that they do make the pact, it's like, okay, we knew that this was going to happen 5 minutes after she was introduced, right? And you have to do that. You know, this is the first episode. They have to establish things while also establishing what's happening and going to happen, like the path that you're on, while also trying to build out the background for these characters. So that is a super minor nitpick in my mind. Another one of those, like, again, it's minor, and it's almost like the double-edged sword of having such great fight scenes and violence and having it so visceral, is like, because before the battle, they're like, oh, we need to make sure that at least 50% of the Holy Knights survive. And then the battle's happening, and it's like, dude, there's no frickin' way that over half of those guys lived. There's just no way. Like, you know, and maybe it wasn't just that company. Maybe it was, you know, including the additional companies, because it seems like there were different groups of soldiers. They really didn't establish geography too much. I think we got one little clip of their companion in the command tent, like looking over a map, but it wasn't, you know, we don't have a world map yet. We don't even have like a big regional map. We just had a very close in view. So, you know, maybe there were different knights in different areas, but just from that scene, I'm like, dude, there's no way 50% of those knights survived that battle. And again, that's a pretty minor thing. And this one is more not the fault of the show, but it's just kind of, you know, when a trope turns into a cliche, I feel like the corrupt religious order trope is a cliche. I feel like we see that a lot. Oh, what was I just watching? Oh my gosh. When, his whole class gets taken to another dimension or a different world, and then they're all like heroes, and they leave him to die, and he like fights his way out of the dungeon. Ari Ferretta? Oh my gosh, how do I say that? Anyway, I made it to like season 3 or something, and then I just stopped watching it. But like that, right, where there's the Valkyrie, and there's the different there's different motivations behind like the church there and the princess. Just off the top of my head, like going back to Devil is a Part-Timer, with the church actually being like the main antagonist of both the hero and Mao-sama. I'm pretty sure Fire Force, right? They have it. Well, I guess it's more of a cult that's not really, they're the church and they happen to be, they're also secretly evil. It's like, no, they're like an evil cult in Fire Force. I'd say the Vatican in Hellsing Ultimate. That's kind of in there too. Attack on Titan, you know, where they're gaslighting all the people living inside the walls. And then, would you count Rising of Shield Hero? Right? Because the heroes are kind of worshipped as like demigods or like semi-deities. But then there's been this whole conspiracy about like suppressing the shield hero. I would count that. But it just seems like, you know, and I'm sure that, you know, you could look it up and find, you know, 10 or 12 more like high profile examples. So again, it's not that the show did anything wrong. It's just that I feel like we've seen that cliche a lot. And so again, that's just a minor complaint. I would say, yeah, solid 9.5. You know, I look forward to the rest of it coming out. I don't even know if it's based on like a light novel or if there's a manga or what. Just, yeah, it's a really cool IP. People have been comparing it to Mushoku Tensei, and I don't really see that. I might make that a separate video. But yeah, it's great. Super excited to see where it goes. And if you haven't seen it, I'm sorry for spoiling the shit out of it, but it's still worth a watch because I have a feeling it's just going to keep getting better. Okay, that is a wrap. I'll catch you guys on the next one. Thank you so much if you made it this far. Bye.